Mario.
Yeah,
Oh,
hello.
yeah, yeah.
Long time.
Yes. It was a very nice lunch, wasn't it?
Yes, very
Always
nice.
nice by Peter, always.
Yeah, well, she cooks also very nicely.
Very good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
There's no time to sleep.
I slept.
You slept?
Oh, yeah.
No, I was afraid I'd mess up my sleep for tonight, so I didn't take a risk.
Mhm.
Hi, Ernie.
Get the Vach, everybody. Get the
Good
Vach.
luck, good
Yes,
luck.
all.
Close my door here. Okay.
Kuf Gimel, 103.
Yeah.
Kol shelo zacha mizbech bivsara, any korban where you don't put the meat on the mizbech, lo zacha kohanim ba'oira. Normally, the kohanim would get the hide of the animal. So like an ola, where the meat goes on the mizbeach, the kohanim would get the hide. Shenemar olas ish. Ola also ish. An ola that was given credit to the person for bringing that korban because it was not puzzle. We're going to see a puzzle dika ola. The kohanim did not get the hide. Ola shenishchato shelo lishma. Now, if you remember, a chatis or a pesach that was nishchat shelo lishma is completely invalid. But an ola that was nishchat shelo lishma, so the bailim don't get credit for it, but it is kosher. Aval bishlo also labalim or kohanim, and therefore this is an example where the kohanim would get the hide. Echad oilas haish ve'echad olas haisha oirasim lakohanim. And just because the Torah wrote olas ish doesn't mean that when a woman brought an olah, the kohanim didn't get the hide. They did get the hide.
What did they do with the hides? Were they allowed to resell them?
You could do it. It was for their personal use. You make shoes.
Oh,
You made a leather
uh-huh.
coat. You whatever you do with the hide, whatever you do with hides.
A wallet.
A wallet.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
you think about is money, you Jewish people.
Hmm.
but what I mean, whatever you know, shoes, jackets, clothing. Oiras kochim kalim labailim. Now this is something new. A kochim kalim is like a bchor, meiser, pesach, right? Shlamim. The owners would get the hide. Not only would the owners get the meat, they'd get the hide. Oras kochim lakohanim. An asham, an ola, a chatas. Those hides went to the kohanim because only the kohanim ate the meat. Kavachomer. Uma im oila shlo zachu bibsara. An ola, the kohanim would not get to eat the meat of an ola. It's completely burned. Yet the Torah says zachu ba'oira. The kohanim get the hide of an ola. Other kochim, like a chatas and an asham, shezachu bibsara, there they do get to eat the meat. Einudin sheyizke ba'oira. Then certainly they should acquire the hide. And a mizbech yochiach, you can't give me a kavachomer from the mizbeach, meaning the ola gets the meat of an excuse me, the mizbeach gets the meat of an ola, but not the hide. You don't put the hide on the mizbeach. So maybe you'll tell me that the mizbeach will prove that getting the meat doesn't always guarantee you getting the hide. But that's not a raya because she'ein lo or b'chol makom. There is no example where you would put the hide on the mizbeach. The hide was never burnt for any korban. So you can't bring a proof from the mizbeach itself. Ton Rabban. Oilas ish, prat lo oilas hegdish. Divi Rabbi Yehuda. An ola that belongs to hegdish. We'll see what is an example of that. There, the Kohanim don't get the hide. And Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yehuda, prat lo oilas gevim. That if a ger designates a korban and then dies, and he has no yorshim. So there, that ola also does not really belong to anybody. So it's not oilas ish. So therefore, the Kohanim don't get the hide of that korban.
So
Now,
who gets in?
we'll see.
Oh,
We'll see. The Gemara will tell us who gets that. Probably the Beis Hamikdash in some form or fashion, like the Bedek Habayis, the temple upkeep. It'll belong to the Beis Hamikdash. My prat loyla hegdish. What does it mean that an ola that's brought by hegdish is the Kohanim don't get the hide? So, for example, we're not talking about the olas that are offered by the tzibur, like the olas atomid, the various olas that are brought on Shabbos and Yontif. There, the Kohanim get the hide of those. So, on Rav Chia Bar Yosef, prat lo oila haba min hamoisris. You have a din at an ashram that gets a mum, or an ashram that, let's say, its owner dies. So you let it graze until it gets a mum, then you sell it. With the proceeds, you buy olos lekitza mizbeach. That's called to keep feeding the mizbeach so the mizbeach wasn't idle. Those kind of olos, the Kohanim didn't get the hide. That's good according to the opinion that the extra money went to buy these Kitza Mizbech. There is an opinion that the person who brought the Osham, that money that is sold after it gets a mum, that person brings an Ola. So the question is, why wouldn't the Kohanim get that's an Ola Sish? Kedama Rava, Ha'ola Ola Rishona. It has to be an Ola that was an Ola all the way. It can't be something that started off as an Osham and that later on became an Ola. Rav Aivu Amar Rav Yanai, that Prat lematvis oil berek habayis. Let's say a person designated an ola, but not for the kedushas haguf, but they're giving it to the berek habayis for money value. So therefore, it doesn't belong to an individual. Therefore, the hide doesn't go to the Kohanim. According to the opinion that items that belong to temple upkeep, to Berek Habayis, and has Doraisa Dika authority. Ela filaman demer lo tafsi. Hanemili boser aval or tofis. The debate would be about the meat, but regarding the hide, everyone will hold that the kedushas Berek Habayis, the money value is easily transmitted to the base of Mikdash. That the Kohanim do not share in those hides. We talked about the olas that were bought with the money that is gotten when you sell an ashram that got a moon. Armalei Rav Nuna Rav Nachman, Keman Rav Yehuda. Ha'haderbe, but Rav Yehuda, we see changed his opinion. The Tanya, Shishal and Nadava. There are 6 korbanos there are six. They had boxes where people put the shkolim in when they came to the base of Migdash, and six of them were for donative offerings. La'oila haba min ha'moisrois. That means they would buy olos for kitzah mizbeach, and shelo yu kohanim zakoin bo'ira. That kind of korban, the kohanim didn't get the hide. Div Rabbi Yehuda. Armila Rav Nechem and Armila Rav Shimon. Im kain midrasha shel Yehoida HaKohen. Bitalta midrasha shel Yehoida HaKohen. Yehoida HaKohen. We learned him in Sefer Malachim. It was the Kohen Gadol. You're going to nullify one of his dinim. This nan ze midrash dorsh Yehoida HaKohen. Asham hu asham lashem. Kol sheba mishum chatas mishum asham yilakach ba'oilos. If initially it started off as a chatas or an asham, and it got a mum, and you sell it, the extra money buys oilos. And habasar l'shem, the meat, of course, is burnt on the mizbech, and oil l'kohanim. So you see, Rabbi Yehuda holds that even those kind of olos, the kohanim get the hide. So how do you explain it? A person donates all of his assets to the base of Mikdash. Give Rabbi Yeshua. It's not. Magdish nechasav. Someone says, I'm donating all my assets to the base of Mikdash. And among his assets were tamim animals that could be fit to be placed on the Mizbeach. And they're both Zacharim and Kevos, male and female. Rabbi Yezer Oimer. Scharim yimachru l'tzorchei oiles. You can sell the male animals to people who need to bring olas. The kevas yimachru l'tzorchei zivchei shlamim. The females could be sold to people who need to bring a shlamim. And with the money, the money goes to temple upkeep. Rabbi Yeshua Oimer, no, you don't have to sell them. The males are offered as oilers. Then the kevas yimachlu l'tzorchei shlamim. You could sell the females for people who need shlamim. V'yavi b'dmeim oilers. The money should also go for oilers. Any leftover money, yishar nechasim yiplu l'ber kabayis. So this type of ola of hegdesh, according to Rabbi Yehuda, the Kohanim wouldn't get the hide. That a person can make a decision, this I want to go for a korban, this I don't. That's only mili hani mili basar. But aval or tofis, the base of Mikdash kedusha immediately is chal on the hide because it belongs to Bedek Abayis, and the Kohanim have no shaykhs to it. Rav Yoitz, Rav Yehuda Oimer, Prat La'oilas Geirit. We said that the type of hide that the Kohanim don't get is an ola that was brought by a ger. What do you mean? It says oilas ish. Why isn't a ger an ish? We're talking about a ger who died. He has no heirs. So then it goes that kind of hide doesn't go to the Kohanim. It goes to Bedek Abayis, like we said, to the base of Mikdash. Darabara. Oilas ish. Ainli ala oilas ish. Oilas noshim vavodim minayim. If a woman or an eved brings an ola, how do we know that the Kohanim get those hides? Talmud Lomer or ha-oila, riba. It's a ribui. Im kein matol Lomer oilas ish. So what does oilas ish teach me? Oila shall also ish. It's got to be a kosher oila, an oila that the person gets credit for. Prat l'nishchat chutz l'zman v'chutz l'mkoma. If you had a machshavas pigul, right? You had in mind to eat from it not in its proper time or not in its proper place. How do I know shelo yuk akwanim zakan ba'oira? Oila shall also ish prat to exclude that. Shelo yu akwanim zakan ba'oira. Yachol shani marben shenishchat shelo lishma. So maybe if you shechted an ola shelo lishma also, the Kohanim wouldn't get the hide. Hoil will also l'baylim because the baylim don't get it. Lo yukonim zakoyim ba'oira tamud lamer or ha'oila mikol makom. So it's exeris hakosuv that an ola that was shechted shlo lishma that the Kohanim get the hide. Or ha'oila en liela or ha'oila. What about oiras kotche kotche minayim? What about the hides of other kotche kotche like an asham or a chatas tamud lamer asher hikriv? Any kind of korban. Yachol sheni marbev kotche kalim. Maybe even kotchim kalim like b'chor meiser pesach. Shlomim tamud lamer oila. Ma oila kotche kotchim afkol kotche kotchim. Only the kotche kotchim. Rabbi Shmuel loimer or ha'oila ein liela ha'oila. Oira is kotche. So I might think that the Kohanim only get the hide of an ola. Oira is kotche kotchim nine. What about oros of Osham and Chatas? Vidinu. Maybe a kavachomer. The Kohanim do not get to eat the meat of an ola. Yet zachu ba'oira. Kotshe kotshim shezachu b'vsara. Chatas and Osham that the Kohanim get to eat the meat. Eino din shezachu ba'oira. Then through a kavachomer we would certainly say that they would get the hide. The Gemara says mizbeach yochiach. The Mizbeach consumes the meat of an ola, but it does not get the hide. So just because you have the right to the meat doesn't prove anything. Yeah, but Malim Mizbeach Shekin Lo Zacha b'miktzas. The Mizbeach never gets the hide. There's no even miktzas hide that it gets. Toimer b'kohanim shezachu b'miktzas. The Torah says specifically that the Kohanim get some of the hides. Since the Torah gave the Kohanim the right to at least some, through this drasha, the Kohanim get the hides of all the kotche kotche. So far, we had the Tanakama, we had Rabbi Shmuel. Now we have Rabbi Omer. This pasuk comes to teach me the whole pasuk, that the Kohanim get the hide of an ola. Rebbe learns very simply. Follow the meat. Normally, the hide will go to whoever eats the meat. So, porim anisrafim, musirem anisrafim. So, the par brought on Yom Kippur, or the par helam dover shel tzibur, where nothing is put on the Mizbeach. No meat. They're completely burnt. Hein nisrafim b'orseini moem. The Mizbeach doesn't get any meat, so the Mizbeach doesn't get any hide. Nobody gets the hide. Because the Parman nisrafim, the hide is burnt with the meat. Now, Chadas for Asham Zivchei Shamei Tzibur is a matana l'kohen. The Kohanim are given the meat of a chatas and an osham, and for example, the shtei alechem, the shtei kvasim, which is an example of a tzibur dika shlomim. So since the meat is a gift to the Kohanim, matana l'kohen, so they give the hide to the Kohen. If they want, rotzu mafshit noisa. If they want to use the hide, they're allowed to strip the hide before they eat the meat. Lo rotzu, gavoiron. Some people would like to eat the meat while it was still on the hide. So that's their choice. Similarly, kotchikalim l'bailim. Shlomim, Bchor, Meiser, Pesach. The bailim get the meat. And therefore, Ratzum Avshitanoisan. If they want, they strip the hide. They use the hide to make shoes. Ratzu Oichlanosan Gabeoiran. If they want, they leave the meat on the hide and they eat it that way. Oh, the one place where you need a postuk of al oila. Nemar bavi hivshit is a oil of nitachol salin sachia. You have to remove the hide and cut it into pieces. Yacholo yuakanim, and the meat is put on the mizbech. Now, yacholo yuakanim zaken ba'oira. I might think the Kohanim don't get the hide. Talmud lemer ora oila asher yikriv. He gets it. He gets the ora oila. Lo yiyeh. To him, We already said, Hora Oila Asher Hikriv. He's the one who was Makriv. So Lo Yiyeh is superfluous. So Prat L'Tvul Yom U'Mechusar Kippurim V'Oinein. That, if a Kohen is a Tvul Yom, right, he's gone to the mikveh, but he has no hair of Shemesh. Or he's one of the 4 people who needs to bring korbanos, right? A Zav, Zava, a Metzora, Mechusar Kippurim, or Oinein. So Lo Yiyeh only to the Kohen, not to these people. So Sheyachol Lo Yizku B'Basar. They don't have a chelik in the meat, Shehu Lachila, and these people, the Tvul Yom Mechusar Kippurim, they can't eat. But maybe Yizku Ba'or. But even so, maybe they should get the hide, She'eno Lachila. We only know that the Tvul Yom Mechusar Kippurim can't eat. Where do we see that they can't benefit from the hide? As I do Lachila. Talmud Omer Lo Yiyeh. Prat L'Mechusar Kippurim Tvul Yom V'Oinein. They're excluded. V'Tanakama Nami Tebek Lemidina. So the Gemara now is asking, Rabbi Shmuel made a kavach chomer that if an ola, they get the right to eat the meat. Certainly, they get the right to eat the hide. So why did the Tanakama learn from that kavach chomer too? Because, and eventually, there's a pasuk. No. In Rabbi Shmuel, he rejected the Mizbeach, so he learned it from a kavach chomer. So the Tanakama had a pasuk. Why do you need a pasuk? You have a kavach chomer. Oh, milsa the asa b'kavach chomer torch v'kosef l'kro. We have other examples in Shas that even though you could have learned the primary halacha from a kavach chomer, the Torah gave us a pasuk anyway. Now, Rabbi Shmuel, Hay Asher Hikriv Ma'avidlei, he brought a kavach chomer. What does he need a pasuk? Prat L'Tvul Yom Mechusar Kippurim V'Oinein. That they also do not share in the hides of all the other kodshe. But we had a pasuk Lo Yiyeh to exclude them. So Rabbi Shmuel Tamei, Rabbi Shmuel has his own reasonings. The Amar Rav Yochanan Mishum Rabbi Shmuel, Nemar Ba'oila Lo Yiyeh. It says it shall belong to the kohen. The Nemar Ba'osham Lo Yiyeh. So there's a Gzeir Shava. Malahala not space of Mutorin. By an Osham, we learn that the Kohanim can use the bones. Afkan at space of Mutorin. An Ola, now, besides the Kohanim benefiting from the hides, they could benefit from the bones. And Mufni, this Gzeir Shava, it has to be completely free and clear. The ilo mufni lemifrach, we'd have a kasha. Mala osham shkem sar mutter. We could have said, well, how can you learn from an osham to an ola? An osham, we can eat the meat. There's no eating of the meat of ola. So Hanami says the Gemara lo yeh kra yuseru. It's an extra pasuk. It's free and clear to be able to be used in the Gzeir Shava that we just learned. Mishnah. Kol hakochim she'ira ben psul kodim lev sheiton. If there's a psul in the korban before that the hide was removed, ein oirosein lakohanim. It's a puzzle-dik korban, the kohanim don't get it. And you burn, if it's a puzzle-dik korban, the animal has to be burned, not on the mizbeach, somewhere else. So the hides are burnt as well. Now, if you skin the ola already, and then there's some kind of psul, it's la'achar of sheteyan or resein l'kohanim. So there was some kind of incentive for the kohanim to strip the hides right away, because later on, if they got a mum, they could still keep the hides. Omer al-chaninas gana kohanim miyomai lo ra'isi or she yoytze lebeis sreifa. In fact, he testified that the kohanim were so zoris that he never saw that a hide had to be burned, or it never happened that there was a psul that occurred prior to their being stripped. Rabbi Kiva midvarv lamadnu she'amafshit es habechor v'nimtza treifa. So if you stripped the bechor, and only then you found that it was treifa, so it follows the rule that the invalidation occurs after the stripping. Sheyosu hakonim baro, the kohanim can keep the hide. However, chachamim are ein lo ra'inu ra'aya. That's not a good proof. Eliyetz lebeis treifa, and they say to Rabbi Kiva that no, the hide has to be burned. Obviously, it was a treifa before they skinned it. Okay. So it says, if the Mizbeach didn't get the meat, the Kohanim didn't get the hide. And even if the hide was removed before Zrika, and before there was some kind of psul. So mani, Rabbi Lezer Rab Shimon, the Amar Ein Adam Meratza La'or B'fnei Atzmo, that when you do Zrika Saddam, it doesn't cause ritzui. It doesn't cause that the korban is accepted when the hide has been separated from the meat, when the hide's by itself. It's all connected to the basar. If the basar is meratzeh, then the hide is meratzeh. However, Ema Seifa. Our Mishnah said that it was if there was an invalidation prior to stripping the hide, if the invalidation occurs after, maybe but even before Zrika, now also the Rebbe, the Adam Adam Ratzal or Bifnei Atzmo, who says nothing to do with the meat. Once you do Zrika, it allows the or to be acceptable to the Kohanim based on the Zrika for it. So it comes out, Reish Rabbi Lezer Rab Shimon Sefer Rebbe. Amar Abayim, it is Sefer Rebbe, Reish Anami Rebbe. Since you showed that the Sefer is Rebbe, the Reish also has to be Rebbe. And therefore, if the Zrika was okay, it would work to allow the hide to be accepted by the Kohanim. Umoy the Rebbe shein efshet kodim Zrika. Normally, Rebbe holds, we don't strip the hide before the Zrika Saddam. Rava learns just pum fakir. Reish Rabbi Lezer Rab Shimon Sefer Nabi Rabbi Rab Shimon. Since you proved to me that the Sefer is Rabbi Lezer, I'm going to prove to you that the Reish is Rabbi Lezer Rab Shimon. And we'll prove that tomorrow.